So currently we have our Kubernetes cluster with one node, which is the master, and it has all of the components that make up the control plane. And we've been using also kubectl to interact with our cluster. Now let's go ahead and create a second node. So we want to have a cluster with two nodes. And what we're going to end up is with a cluster like this. And this means that we can leave the master node alone and deploy everything else on worker nodes. So as you'll see later in the course, when we used EKS, a managed provider, we don't have access to the master node, and all we control are the worker nodes. So let's use Minikube to spin up a cluster with two nodes. So currently, remember, I've showed you that. So mini, and then cube, and then start, dash, and then help. You can see that we have this flag right here, this one, right? So nodes. So the default is 1 in here. It's 1, but let's say that we want to create a cluster with two nodes. So let's just type minikube start, and then dash, and then nodes, or n is the same thing, equals to 2. And again, this will take a while, so just give it a second or so. So preparing Kubernetes, and this time is actually taking longer because we have two nodes. And you can see that it's doing a bunch of things. And now it's putting up the control plane. And remember, we destroyed the entire cluster, so it's doing everything again, right? And now it's actually starting the second node right here. So minikube m and then -0. And there we go. So now if I type, so let me just clear the screen for now. I'm going to type minikube and then status, and check this out. So we have the control plane right here, right? So one node, which is the master and has the control plane components. So host, kubelet, API server, all running. And then here, have a look, minikube and then -m02. This is a worker node. So there you have it. And I can even go ahead and type. So if I click the screen, I can type kubectl and then get and then nodes. And there we go. We have two nodes. Now, if I type minikube and then IP, so this is the IP for the master node. So if we don't specify the node, it just defaults to the master one. If I type minikube, IP, and then -- and then node, oops, just like that, and then type mini and then cube, you can see that this is the same thing. But now if I type the same thing but m02, so this node right here, and if I press enter, you can see that the IP is different. So this is really cool. And now we have a cluster with two nodes, and each node has its own IP address. And as you'll see later in this course, when you use a managed solution such as EKS provided by AWS, we only have to focus on the worker nodes. The master node is completely managed for us. So this is why I wanted to kind of show you exactly how to do things in the proper way. So we have two nodes, where the worker node is where we deploy our applications, and the master node, we just keep it for making all of the decisions, right? Because it's really critical for us that the master node is up and running all the time. If you have any questions, go ahead and drop a message. Otherwise, let's move on.